Alright, we are on to the second song of this saga, which is Dangerous. We have established that Odysseus is leaving Calypso's island, and this, I assume, would be the part where he sets out. It is mentioned in the previous song that someone has come to take Odysseus away. Now, those of us who've read the Odyssey, we know that that is Hermes. And so I wonder if we're gonna get maybe Hermes talking with Odysseus or not. I don't know. So in this part of the journey, after Odysseus leaves Calypso's island, he is, made to understand it will take him 20 days to reach the Isle of the Phaeacians, which is a good amount of time to be out pretty much on reasonably open water. And what happens is that during that 20-day journey, Poseidon finds out what's going on, and he's none too pleased to hear that Odysseus is once again journeying his way home. Now, it is important for Poseidon also that Odysseus not reach the Isle of the Phaeacians, for if he reaches the Isle of Phaeacians, there has been a prophecy of some kind that basically says at that point, Poseidon's revenge is over. He will at that point definitely make it home and make it home soon. So Poseidon, because he wishes to prolong Odysseus' suffering due to the blood feud that has been started between them, decides to intervene, and he summons up a raging sea that truly puts Odysseus in mortal peril. He's freaking the fuck out, the raft is being destroyed, he's trying to figure out what to do, and in the midst of these deadly raging seas, a nymph by the name of Ino actually kind of catches sight of what's going on and pops her head up, which you can imagine all of the chaos surrounding her of the sea, and she's just chilling in it whatever. It's a hilarious image to me. I love it. She goes, "Man, human, what did you do to piss off Poseidon?" She's like, "I don't really know what's going on, but you know what? Here's a shawl." She's like, basically throw all your other clothes off, wrap this around your waist, and you will be able to survive this. You will be able to swim through these seas and make it to wherever you're trying to go, at least some land. And Odysseus actually initially does not believe this. At this point, can you blame the guy? He's suspicious of nymphs who are offering him help because his experience has been Calypso for 7 years. Can you blame the guy? He's a little sus. And he doesn't really believe it, but there is a point where he truly does not have a choice because the raft is getting destroyed. He is going to die, so I kid you not, he goes full birthday suit, literally ditches all the other clothes he's wearing, wraps that shawl around his waist, and dives. And it is still really rough going, but he manages to survive it essentially with divine help. At which point he then eventually washes ashore his way to the Phaeacians. He sits, he gets to tell his story, and then we move him along on back to Ithaca. So that encounter plus the cover art, which I talked about in the previous video, being what looks to be Poseidon's trident in a sea of blood and water. And I had also noted in Ruthlessness, when we brought in Poseidon very dramatically in a way he does not appear in the Odyssey, that we have to bring him back. You establish you're an antagonist here, you have to bring him back. And this encounter is one of the few, very direct moments we've got Poseidon there in the moment talking, doing a thing. Now, he still does not interact with Odysseus beyond creating these deadly seas. For some reason, he's just decided, I don't need to speak to you, you ain't worth my time, and frankly, I don't want to hear your bullshit, I guess. But he's gonna cause a ruckus. So I would assume at some point in here, and also given the cover art, we're gonna get that. But given this is the second of 5 songs, that would be odd to be there. So this is Dangerous. I'm assuming this is Odysseus just setting out maybe on his journey. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure of the pacing of this saga, and maybe this will be another chance to talk with Hermes, because Hermes is here. I don't know. Again, the pacing of this saga is left in utter mystery to me, and given how we've restructured the story, and I doubt we're gonna hit the Phaeacians, I'm kind of flying a little blind as to what Jorge will keep, what he will adapt, what he will twist and tweak, and what are we doing with this final bit. And as much as I would hope for tons of time to be devoted onto the entirety of how the Slaughter of the Suitors works, because it's in multi-stages and it's allows you for so many different kinds of emotions, from dread, anticipation, to be just get them, and the explosion of violence that ultimately happens. The last saga is called the Ithaca saga, so that makes me think maybe that whole saga is this. So I'm we have a whole saga of him wandering, but I'm assuming we're not keeping Phaeacians. I don't know. I will stop, throwing my questions out into the void, if you will, and just move on to Dangerous.
Get on with it! 600 men, 600 deaths under my command.
Open Arms reprise.
I had one goal in mind.
Oh, wow. That's actually interesting and really powerful. The 600 men, but it's a solo guitar and the resounding silence where the crew before had added their voice we are re-emphasizing that he is alone at this part of his journey. I'm assuming at this point he is meant to be potentially out on the waters already, or maybe he's at the shore. That's pretty powerful use of silence. Jorge, you did this once before in Mutiny, and I loved, as I was calling it, relative silence, because we still had background noise and chords going through. Silence is an incredibly powerful tool when used really well. Kind of wish you would use it more, my dude.
No fleet, no band, only this raft that I made by hand. How will I reach my homeland?
All you have to do is not open this bag.
Hermes?
All you have to do is not open this bag. That's a reprise to the wind bag. And I talked about how, while they utilized the wind bag differently in Keep Your Friends Close, and even in Ruthlessness, that, you know, it wasn't the four winds, it was just this storm that Poseidon had conjured. Once you use it, it's gone. And not only that, they had said we can save whatever wind is left to use another day, but then they opened it again, and the assumption, it would seem from the narrative, would have been that it is therefore empty. That bag is entirely unusable. So I'm wondering what this bag is here, because it can't be the wind bag. Like, even taking out the mythology of what the wind bag actually is in the Odyssey, according to the narrative of Epic, we have already at this point fully drained it. It cannot be used. It's not like some recyclable magical object once it's empty. Right? But we are bringing back Hermes. So I guess maybe we're still on the island, or he's just sitting out, but Hermes is showing up. It's kind of nice to hear him get a reprise, because I can hear that little electronica funk coming in, and I'm here for it. Also, that laugh is honestly fantastic.
Hello, old friend.
So you're the one who talked to Calypso.
Yes.
Why are you here?
You're being given a final option. Consider this your one last chance to make it back home. And a bad
This is true.
Wash it away like the blood your hands have known. I know if you dance with fate.
Ooh, like the blood on your hands. Yet pointing out, like, dude, let's remember you do have blood on your hands. And that is something that I think does need to be remembered. If, again, this idea of when does a man become a monster? Are we sending him down into monstrosity? You know, where exactly are we going with that theme? To remind us that Odysseus does have blood on his hands. Now, again, the big difference in kind of, if we say, the morality structure of, if we will, of like how the ancient Greeks would have viewed what was done versus what was done here, and how a modern audience perceives this blood on Odysseus's hands. To the Greeks, the most of it, they would just sort of shrug it and go, yeah, sure, okay. I mean, the only thing would be, again, Polyphemus was the big standout of, like, you didn't kill him. You deliberately maimed him and didn't kill him. Like, the Greeks would just be like, what are you doing, bro? No excuse. No wonder Poseidon is mad and you started a blood feud, a thing that Zeus had warned you about the previous, like, just recently. But then continuing on, I like that little callback because it's a reminder also to the audience that, like, let's not forget who Odysseus is and kind of what it seems one of the potential character trajectories we're taking him on is.
And I know you'll enhance your state.
If your plan's so great, then why'd you wait to say it?
Well, it's a little bit dangerous, my friend. You need a mindset change for this. You cannot get away with playing safe for this. You wanna get home, put it all on the line.
Would we argue Odysseus has been playing safe with it up to this point? I mean, and I'm posing this as genuinely. One, do you guys think he's been playing safe with this up to this point? And does the musical think he has been? I don't know if I would say he's been playing safe. He's been playing reckless, arguably, for a lot of it. And this is where I point out, I think there is a difference between ruthlessness and recklessness. And wherever anybody stands on how ruthless they think Odysseus has or hasn't been, I think it's pretty obvious he's been really reckless in places. So, interesting choice of words. Maybe we could argue that to Hermes, he sees Odysseus as having played it safe. I don't know. Interesting choice of words, though.
Remember every trick in your domain for this. You gotta treat it like it is the main
Song's a bop,
event.
though.
You wanna get home, put it all on the line. Be dangerous.
All right, I'm in. What do I do?
Yeah. Now tell him the plan, which I'm going to be very curious about, because again, I don't think we're doing the Isle of the Phaeacians. This is a very bouncy song. Like, again, you see me bopping along to it, but even the way that the singer for Hermes is like, put it all on the line. line. Like there's a bounce and a rhythm to it that I really quite enjoy. It does make Hermes as a voice stand out in addition to the style of his songs, this very electro-pop. I'm also gonna say, I think I like this melody a little more than his previous song. Yeah, I think I do. I think I do like this a little more than his previous song. I mean, part of, again, my issue with his previous song, Wouldn't You Like, was that tonally Keep Your Friends Close was kind of too similar, and so it took some of Wouldn't You Like's thunder. For this, we have not had any really lead up to a kind of tone like this, and I think it then allows it to have this really big impact as a result. So now I wonder what this plan is. Let's hear the plan, Hermes. And I'm also curious if this song is also not only meant to be him telling the plan. If we say that maybe Odysseus is already off at sea while they're chatting, could this then be part of the whole like actual traveling bit? Almost like, you know, imagine doing like a montage. For example, like Disney's Mulan, the Be a Man, which is like one of the greatest songs ever. Let's be real, we all love that song. Or Make a Man Out of You. Sorry, that's what it's called. How it starts off, like the way that time flows in that, and how a lot of it ends up becoming very montage-like. I think this is a song with a good beat. It's very driving, very moving you forward. That can absolutely be used to then be a, hey, let's have Hermes sing, telling him what he's got to do, and then actually have Odysseus doing it while it's happening. Which again, that's a very, I'll admit, is a very kind of filmic way of thinking. It's a more cinematic way of thinking. But I still think it's totally possible to do it on the stage that way, because in that way Hermes becomes a bit more of an orator, which Hermes is a god of oration. That is one of the things that is under his purview as a god. So I think it would totally make sense. Anywho, spitballing. Let's hear the plan.
First up, uncharted waters. When lost, look towards the sky. Follow the North Star, no matter how far you think you're going. You keep on rolling. When strangers look around the aisle, when danger greets you with a smile, fight your way through. Do what you must do, but no matter what, keep moving. It's gonna be dead.
Obviously, keep rowing. Like, you are in uncharted waters. This is very much uncharted waters. Like, just here's your beacon, you're gonna follow, which is saying like you're gonna have to sail through the night, which would have been a pretty intimidating prospect, but at least here's your guidance. Follow the North Star, keep going. It feels a bit like second star to the right and straight on till morning, but like a little less wholesome in that way, I guess. When strangers look around the aisle, when danger greets you with a smile. Is this about the suitors? Because can't really be about the Phaeacians, that doesn't fit. And again, I think that whole stop ultimately has been made reasonably unnecessary due to how Epic has structured itself. So if we say we're moving straight on to Ithaca, is that the suitors? Because that's pretty true, because then he's talking about fight your way through. I mean, eventually he has to kind of hold himself, you know, he's in disguise, he's doing his whole, I'm basically my own version of Trojan Horse 2.0, but this time it's personal.
It's literally what it is.
And I'm gonna do this and do that, and then I'm gonna get to the challenge through the 12 axes, and I'm going to fight through all of you. And basically naked while he does it. Let's never forget that. Look, Odysseus, a fan of not that many clothes. I don't know what to tell you guys. So I wonder if this is a reference to the suitors, but it's kept reasonably vague enough, which I think Hermes would do because it feels very in line with him. But I also think it is meant to keep it a secret from the audience in the same way that Tiresias didn't spill everything in his moment. And also we did not have even Polyphemus spilling his beans about, you know, who's my dad, and also here's the exact curse I want exacted on Odysseus. There have been various moments where in the Odyssey, we get told pretty much up front what's sort of gonna happen to Odysseus. Again, part of the structure, it doesn't seem that weird because we already know what's going on Ithaca. It's really obvious, and there's only one way it's going to end if Odysseus gets there. Versus Epic laying it out in a linear format, working under the assumption that a lot of people who are watching this may not know the Odyssey, and therefore it can hide some things and keep it a little secret. Stuff like that, I'm going to guess, is meant to be a nod to this is what's going to happen on Ithaca. Unless this saga proves me wrong and has something else it's going to give me.
My friend, you need a mindset change for this. You cannot get away with playing safe for this. You wanna get home, put it all on the line.
I do want to also note, sorry, I know I keep pausing a lot. This I want to say, I like there's a little teensy bit of gravel and rasp that the singer for Hermes, Troy, I believe his name is, some of whose videos as Hermes with other voice actors from this series have given me immense joy. I like this little bit of, you know, roughness he's putting in his voice. It wasn't there as much in Wouldn't You Like, but given this is dangerous, you know, there's an edge, a dangerous edge to something. And also I think it fits Hermes. Like, let's remember, as much as he has so much through modern media kind of just been reduced to a certain type of character. He does have a very dangerous edge to him. And so I like that. I've had really no complaints with how Hermes has been portrayed in the musical. I think Jorge caught on to him very well, and this voice actor has brought so much charisma to him. Really has injected so much personality there. And it's a delight.
You're already it. Remember every trick in your domain for this. You gotta treat it like it's the main event. You wanna get home, put it all on the line, be dangerous. And lastly, the win back.
Whoa! What?
We went through so much to get this. Keep this bag closed if you wanna get home, sir.
You won't get another time to try.
The raging storm inside won't let you get closer.
It was meant to stop you by design.
'Cause no mortal can pass Poseidon's storm. Open this bag and you'll never make it home.
Stop.
You know, we talked about the windbag saying it was a thing that was used. So I guess this is supposed to be the windbag, which does not make sense. Again, not just in the context of the OG mythology and everything else. This doesn't make sense in the context of epic.
It doesn't.
We used the windbag because not only when Odysseus to Eurylochus said, we can save whatever wind is left to use another day, come on. At that point, Poseidon showed up. And in order to escape the conundrum that had been created within having him facing off with the god who wants to kill him, the only way he was able to escape was to use the windbag. So we used whatever wind was left to use that day. Therefore, it should, by kind of how Epic set it up, be empty. There is no storm. So I'm left asking the question, what on earth are we doing? Because this is a moment of, this is a plot hole. This is a point of, it's a plot hole. And as much as, yeah, everybody gets mad when I pick at Epic. And I understand it's difficult when somebody comes at and critiques something that you like or says, I don't know if I like it for my own personal reasons. This is a moment that is, let's be real, reasonably objective from the rules that were set from the writing that has come before it in just the musical. So the windbag should not be making another appearance. By the way, the musical utilized it in Act 1. Now, if we want to go by the mythology, no way. Now, I had mentioned there is a nymph who appears and gives him this magic sash, right? That helps him survive. Why didn't we just have Hermes give him the sash?
Or something.
Because by this point, I have a feeling the audience will roll with it. But why are we bringing up an object that by the writing that has appeared before it should not, cannot be used again in this context? This is a plot hole. It's a pretty glaring one too, because I have a feeling we're gonna have to use the windbag again, right? And I will have the same problem when we use it again, saying you should not be able to use this because it's already empty. You used it twice in the first act. It's empty, and by virtue of using it twice, you used whatever wind was left to use another day, aka that same day. But you needed to escape a god. Jorge had essentially written himself into a corner. Again, I love ruthlessness. I love that we brought Poseidon in. I almost don't even mind he wrote himself into that corner, and that the only way he was gonna escape that corner he wrote himself into, because you have to have Odysseus survive, was to use the windbag in that way. Cool. Okay, look, again, massive change from the Odyssey. I get, you wrote yourself in a corner, it was the only way you could write yourself out. Okay, well, it's done now. We can't bring it back.
Just give him the magic sash.
I think a lot of people will can just roll with the idea of it's Greek mythology and there's magical objects. But okay.
As you get closer,
It was meant to stop you by design.
'cause no mortal can pass Poseidon's storm. Open this bag and you'll never make it home. You'll never make it home.
Don't you know that danger is my friend? My whole life I've trained for this. I cannot tell you how much I have paid for this. I have to get home, put it all on the line. I'm gonna use root.
Okay, since I had talked about Troy having a very kind of like bouncy way in which he did the put it all on the line, compared now with Jorge's Odysseus, where he's a little less bouncy in this tone. And again, I think you get to highlight different voices, different ways that they say the same lines, even in the same song. I think it's nice to see stuff like that. It feels much more like we're doing character singing in that way, which is pretty much what musicals are. You're singing a character. And, you know, Odysseus basically, it's his moment of going, okay, yeah, no, I got this. I can absolutely do this. And also, since we've kind of included a lot less the idea that sailing is a very scary thing just in general due to nascent naval technology, whether everything else, sailing was a scary prospect, especially long sailing trips. You're in uncharted waters, like that's terrifying. It is dangerous. We've really kind of, in many ways, toned down the difficulty of sailing at all. We put him on a raft, like, yo, that makes life even harder. But we've got him being like, okay, good. We've done a big turnaround from how he was feeling on Calypso's Island to here, which, given the pacing needed in the musical, you have to do it pretty quickly. But, he'll hit obstacles on his way. We shall see. Again, the pacing of this saga is sort of left a very big mystery to me, because I'm not sure how much you could necessarily put in there or where you want to put your emphasis, given the major stop that is involved in the Odyssey here. I am assuming we are not doing, for very clear and understandable reasons, and I don't expect him to do it.
Every trick, every skill put to use for this. I plan to put an end to all the foolishness. I have to get home, put it all on the line.
Put an end to all the foolishness. Okay.
Hermes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't thank me, friend. I'm not the one who fought for you.
Then who?
Oh, come on.
Good luck.
Well, actually, you know what? To that, I was going to say, oh, come on. Then I realized, well, technically you broke up with Athena, but let's not forget that you did call out to her. Okay, so I went and I double-checked the libretto. It says, Odysseus fights off various monsters while Hermes dances around him. So this kind of is like a montage-type song. So we move through him doing most of the sailing, which then leaves... The next song is Charybdis. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay.
We'll wait for that.
I like giving Hermes another song. He comes in and he helps Odysseus. I obviously have big concerns with the windbag, and that's not just me being a purist, as everybody thinks that I am. This is a plot hole. This is a big plot hole that feels really unnecessary. Again, I don't really know what we're going to be doing with the windbag, though if I had to guess, we're going to bring Poseidon back and it'll have something to do with that. And I'll sit there and just say, we could have just used the magic shawl. We don't even need to bring in Ino as a character. You can just have Hermes give it to him. I think that is... I don't know why we're bringing back an object that he shouldn't be able to use again, because that storm doesn't exist anymore. Other than that, I'm happy to get another Hermes song, because the singer for Troy who sings Hermes is an absolute fucking delight, and he's done extremely well by this character. And the way the lilting quality and bounciness that he brings to the lyrics here is super fun. So we are next apparently off to Charybdis. I have so many questions.